You're watching WXYZ 7. Now, Action News at 5.
We begin tonight with this breaking news. A trench collapsed, trapping a father and his son. Rescuers freed one man, but they are still trying to reach the other. Good evening, everyone. The father and son plumbing team were fixing a broken pipe when the ground caved in. It's now 4 hours later, and the son is still in the hole. Action News reporter Kimberly Craig is live in Southwest Detroit now with more details on the breaking story. Kim?
Well, Frank, Daniel Howard is unconscious and shows no signs of vitals. The Detroit Fire Trench Rescue Team is being assisted by teams from Southfield and Pontiac. And for hours now, they've been digging and shoring up the hole to get to Daniel. From Chopper 7, you can see the hole, and under the dirt is 24-year-old Daniel Howard, who had been on a plumbing job with his dad. Nearby, Daniel's grandmother sat in an ambulance, hoping and praying.
Just hope he's alive. I hope he's alive. That's all. I don't even know what's happening. I don't know what happened.
Daniel's father, Ken, owns MH Plumbing, and around 1 o'clock they were working on replacing a sewer line behind a West Side home when the trench collapsed on both of them. Ken was able to be rescued and rushed to the hospital, but only Daniel's upper chest was above the dirt, and firefighters say he had no vital signs. Kevin Harris dug that trench with a backhoe. When did you guys realize the dirt was starting to come down?
We did. It just fell down. Just fell in. No warning. Putting a pipe in.
So you'd already finished shoring it up. What had you guys shored it up with?
I don't know. I was up top.
Okay.
I went down there.
Or I don't know what their practices are or their procedures are for the company, but from what we've seen in the evidence that we have, there is nothing there to say that they shored the hole up or make sure that the dirt wouldn't fall in on them.
They took my brother to the hospital. They're trying to get my nephew out.
Did they tell you anything about how it happened?
No. They just said the dirt caved in on him. That's all I know. Wow. Okay, so we're just keep him in your prayers. That's all I ask.
And Daniel's father, Ken, who is also a pastor, is now at Henry Ford Hospital. Firefighters continue to dig here and shore up the hole to get to Daniel, and Myosha is also on the scene. You can see relatives are standing by here, also hoping and waiting for word. Reporting live from Detroit's West Side, Kimberly Craig, Channel 7 Action News.
Thank you, Kim. A car speeding out of control slammed through a ticket booth at the state fair today, and 4 people were hurt, including the driver. Police say the problem may have started with a medical emergency. Action News reporter Val Clark is live at the state fairgrounds now with the latest information. Val?
Robbie, right now they're getting ready for the parade that happens every night. Things are back to normal, but earlier this accident was so serious that it's keeping tonight 3 of the people involved, including the driver, in the hospital. Also serious enough that the state fair is now considering installing bigger, heavier barricades.
1 minute, the driver of this Saab and his family was looking for a parking space. The next, they were crashing through this ticket booth, striking 1 visitor and 2 employees. It happened inches away from this concession stand.
As we see the car come dragging those 2 barriers, sweeping straight across here, it knocked one of these toys off, landed over there, and it all happened in a split second. You froze, nobody moved, we just kind of looked. We're in shock. What do you do?
He hit a lady out there, a pedestrian, and then he hit another lady as he was coming in, and he just kept going. He almost hit me.
Roaring ahead at 50 miles an hour with an unconscious driver who apparently suffered a stroke, the car also took out barricades, a concrete planter, and an ATM machine. It eventually stopped just 25 yards from firefighters assigned to the fair.
His wife jumped out the car, and she was real hysterical and everything, so that's why I realized he was blanked out, like he wasn't conscious when he did it.
On any given day, at that point in the morning, 10:15, there's usually a lot of people congregated around the ticket area. But I've seen up to 1,000 people on senior day. There was nobody there this morning. It was unexplainable.
You had an explanation, though.
It was an act of God. It had to have been. There's no other way to explain it.
And the firefighters tell us they believe the car stopped just short of hitting them because it happened to be equipped with a mechanism that shuts off the fuel system after a collision. Reporting live at the State Fair, I'm Val Clark, Channel 7 Action News.
All right, thank you, Val. Well, by tomorrow morning, mechanics for Northwest Airlines could be on strike. Union leaders say it doesn't look like there will be a deal before the midnight deadline. We have Team 7 coverage of all the latest developments for you. Reporter Bob McNaney is in Washington monitoring the negotiations. Michael Rosenfield spent time with union workers today, but we'll begin with Action News reporter Anu Prakash live at Metro Airport. Anu?
Well, Frank, union officials here at Metro Airport are telling us they believe this is going to be a long, drawn-out battle with Northwest Airlines. Unfortunately, that has passengers worried, and many are just hoping that won't be the case. Travelers taking off on Northwest today are glad they're leaving now.
I'm just happy that we're getting out of Detroit today before the strike starts.
Deb Fratrick and Lori Morrow are heading to Beijing with some worry over Northwest mechanics walking off the job.
It's a little bit of a concern, but we feel pretty good flying out today before the strike hits tonight at midnight. So if we can get out today, and then we'll be already here and gone, and by the time we get back, that gives them 10 days to hopefully come to a resolve.
If mechanics go on strike, Northwest vows to operate a full schedule, but that promise isn't enough for Darlene Parrish. She flew home from a business trip one day early. She also flies often and says if mechanics walk off the job, she won't fly Northwest because the idea of replacement workers scares her.
What types of mechanics are you putting there? This is not like, oh, just going to get, a $15 oil change on your car. This is a plane. We have no control over it. When you're in the air, you're at the mercy of those people that are operating the planes and the mechanics.
With the strike deadline just hours away, AAA suggests Northwest passengers should get to the airport earlier than usual. Print your boarding pass ahead of time and travel light. Just take a carry-on if you can. Now as the clock winds down to the strike deadline, many passengers feel it's inevitable, but remain hopeful it won't last long.
Crossing our fingers, we'll take it day by day.
Well, Northwest officials here at the airport say it is not over yet and the negotiations are still going on. So what is the union doing to get ready for tonight? Let's go to Michael Rosenfield. He is at the Strike Command Center with that part of the story. Michael?
Hi, Anu. Thank you very much. Here at the strike headquarters, more and more union members will be arriving throughout the evening. They are ready to hit the picket line if this strike is called. For days now, Northwest mechanics who work at Metro Airport have been working on picket signs. About 500 mechanics and 360 cleaners are based out of Detroit, and they'll be picketing at some 6 different locations around Metro.
Nobody wanted to come to this, but we're pushed into our corner, and we're not going to give up. We're not going to take in this strike's about jobs. It's not so much about money as everybody knows out there. We have already offered to take a pay cut.
David Doyle has been a mechanic with Northwest for 19 years. Doyle says if the strike lasts through Labor Day, he'll have to find a part-time job to keep his family going.
We have saved our money and hopefully, we'll try to do the best we can and survive.
Some union employees like Doyle are already feeling the effects of the possible strike. All who have already finished their last scheduled shift have been stripped of their airport badges.
It was sad. It was sad. You might have said goodbye to some good friends.
If the strike is called, union members will be handing out these yellow pamphlets explaining to passengers the union side of the story and also apologizing for any inconvenience. We're live in Romulus. Michael Rosenfield, Channel 7 Action News.
All right, thanks, Michael. Bob McNaney is live in Washington, D.C., where the negotiations are going on right now between Northwest and the union. Bob, what's the latest?
Well, Frank, kind of an odd day of talks, if you will, before the strike deadline because there really haven't been any talks here. Both sides arrived at the National Mediation Board offices here in Washington early this morning, but they have not yet been in the same room. There's been no face-to-face discussions or proposals passed across the table. I did talk to one source involved in the negotiations who says he does expect that there'll be some exchange of some sort between now and the midnight Eastern strike deadline. The mood throughout the system, I'm being told, is described as resignation. People are just resigned to the fact that there's going to be a strike. That's a number of unions I'm talking about, pilots, flight attendants, and the mechanics themselves. One final note, I have a source within the FAA who tells me that beginning tonight, there will be FAA inspectors at the 10 largest maintenance facilities that Northwest operates to oversee a transition from the permanent mechanics to the replacement workers. Of course, that would include the mechanics positions at Detroit. That's the latest from Washington, Frank.
All right, thank you, Bob. Well, the best you can do is stay tuned to Action News for continuing coverage on the possible strike. We are monitoring the latest information on the Northwest talks. And, of course, we'll bring you all the details as soon as anything happens.
An SUV slammed into the side of a bank this afternoon in Warren. It happened at the TCF Bank at 10 Mile and Ryan, and Chopper 7 arrived over the scene just minutes after it happened. The driver was injured and transported by EMS to the hospital, and officers are still trying to determine how it all happened.
And we have much more ahead for you tonight on Action News.
Stephen Clark and Diana Lewis are live at the Woodward Dream Cruise with a preview on Action News at 6.
Thank you, Robbie. Frank, good afternoon to you. We're live here on Woodward Avenue in Royal Oak at Dugan's Irish Pub, again, taking in the sights and the considerable sounds of the Woodward Dream Cruise.
And coming up at 6, you will hear from the famous Beach Boys. Plus, we'll talk to some people about how far they have come to cruise Woodward.
Please plan to join us for all the excitement.
Tonight on Action News at 6.
But first at 5, several tornadoes ripped apart homes and left entire neighborhoods destroyed.
Plus, the shuttle hitches a ride on a 747.
And it may be hard to believe, but Action News has found gas for under $2 a gallon. We'll show you where coming up.
And we do have some sunshine in the forecast, but the chance for storms is increasing. Still, the question is, will it wash out the Dream Cruise? We'll have the details in the Doppler 7 forecast.
Channel 7, honored as America's top television station for community involvement and service by the National Association of Broadcasters. 7 is on your side.